All right. Okay, so welcome today, everyone, to How to Read and Understand Blueprints. My name is Melissa Rubel. I have been with Kipcon for, I think, let me see how I advance these slides. Here we go. I have been with Kipcon for about 15 years now. I've been in the industry for over 35 years. I started in the design industry. I'm a civil engineer by training, so I do a lot of site work. My specialty is any kind of stormwater management. So I've had the opportunity to design communities such as the communities you live in and manage from day one, from the open field up into the completed development. Um, I do some work with buildings and I have a familiarity with building construction. It is not my specialty, but from time to time, I need to be involved in something that requires a little bit of knowledge of building construction. So as we move through the plans today, it's kind of building construction heavy, this presentation, but I'll try to inject some site work plan comments in there as well. So what do we want to accomplish in our webinar today? So we're going to just talk briefly about the history of blueprints and why they're called blueprints when they're not blue. We're going to discuss the purpose of the blueprints. Why do we need them at all? We're going to talk, the bulk of our presentation today is how to navigate the blueprints and how to find the information that we're looking for. We're going to talk about the details, the very important sheets that typically come at the end of a design plan set and why they're important. And we're going to talk about what else is needed in addition to the blueprints to create a completed bid package so that we could get bids from contractors that make sense to us. So the blueprints historically were actually blue. They started out with a very blue background, that beautiful indigo black background with white lines on it. As the process of developing the blueprints evolved, it turned into a white background with blue lines on it. It was just the process of the way to create multiple drawings. The original drawing before the days of computers had to be created by hand on a transparent medium such as vellum or parchment paper or something to that effect so that they could be reproduced through a what's called a diazo process where there is another piece of paper. If anybody remembers the days of if you had typing class back in the 70s or the 80s, you remember how when you created a copy of something, it wasn't as simple as pressing a button. You had to use multiple sheets of media behind an original to create that. And the same thing with blueprints and just the process of developing those additional copies and the chemicals involved resulted in the blue background you see, and that's why they're called blueprints today. So what do we need the blueprints for? So blueprints are, among other documents in a bid package, a means of communicating information on how to construct something that's either new or to repair, remediate something that is already in existence. So the whole bid package includes not only the blueprints, but shop drawings, which are sort of specialty drawings for specialty items, such as a metal stair railing that's shown on the blueprints. Shop drawings will show how to construct those stairs, types of welds, the types of bolts involved. They're kind of a specialty drawing from a specialty designer. The contracts are also included in a bid package and the specifications, otherwise known as a project manual sometimes, that includes very specific information regarding the contractor's obligations. It includes the bid form that becomes eventually part of the contract. There are specific sections with information on warranties and additional information such as cut sheets from manufacturers for materials that are being used in the design that's shown in the blueprints. So we have a separate webinar that has to do with getting bids from contractors. So I won't go into too much detail now, but just keep in mind that blueprints are part of a larger set of documents used. They don't just exist in isolation. They're used with other documents to convey information about how something is to be constructed and what the parties' obligations are in constructing those items. So the blueprints do provide their own set of information. In the case of architectural plans, there are building codes that are applicable to, depending upon when the building is being constructed. If you're constructing a new building, you are required to adhere to the requirements of the current building code. So if you're looking at a set of architectural plans, for something new and you look at the plans, you're going to see that the building code is specified on there. If you're looking at an older set of architectural plans and it's important for you to know what building code was applicable at the time of construction, you can look at the plans and see what building code was in effect at the time, whether it was the old BOCA codes, whether it was the 2018 International Residential Code. There are different types of codes depending upon what you're building, and that information is available on the blueprints. Blueprints also show the spatial dimensions of what is being constructed. How large are things, the distance between things, and the materials that are going to be used in the construction and the details, those very important sheets at the end that have specialized information in them. So every set of blueprints follows a progression. That's pretty typical, and it changes from time to time, depending upon what's being constructed or remediated. But in general, the blueprints follow this pattern. There's a title page that gives general information. It might show a map where the project is located. It might show where a project is zoned in the case of a site plan. It shows the municipality, the county, the state that it's being constructed in, and we'll look in more detail at what's included on the title page. Following the title page, sometimes they come right after the title page, sometimes at the very end after the details, but general and technical notes. And we'll talk a little bit more about those. There are not so much drawings as they are notes that specify different things about the progression of construction and the types of materials and what the industry specifications are for the materials that are being used in the design. Then we get into the heart of the blueprint set, the design drawings. So depending upon what type of project it is, if it's an architectural plan, of course, there's going to be building plans. If it's a site or subdivision plan, you're going to have pictures of the site. If it's what's called MEP, mechanical, electrical, or plumbing, you're going to have plans related to those details. So, but just in general, again, there's usually an overall plan. You start when you're going through a blueprint plan set of design drawings. There is a natural progression from a very broad overview down through things that are more detailed and more detailed and more detailed until you get to the detail sheets, which are the finest of details. So we generally start out with an overview or a layout plan of whatever we're doing. Then we move on to plan views and elevations and sections, and we'll talk a little bit about what the difference between those is and what type of information is typically shown. So we're going to be concentrating on projects that are more relevant to community associations, and we're all familiar with them. There's roofing and roadways and different types of replacements of facades, sometimes retaining walls or tennis courts, and they all require design drawings to help the contractor navigate through what needs to be done. So here's that title page. And as you can see, this is all very general information and information specific to the project. So The title block is usually along the right-hand side of the sheet or down in the lower right-hand corner. Kipcon puts their title block down in the lower right-hand corner, and it tells us who the client is. If there's any sort of internal information, we keep project numbers. The drawing number sheet is there, and you can see above our title block there, we have the drawing list, and it shows you where in that drawing list you are when you look at the drawing number. And then the issue date. So oftentimes when design plans are first issued, there may be changes to them based on either client requests or municipal comments or different changes that the building code official might want to see. And as we progress through the plan set, you'll see above the title block there is a set of lines where we keep track of the revisions that have happened to the plan set. There's that drawing list up above that I mentioned. And you'll see, I can't zoom in here, but you'll see that progression I was talking about with the title sheet and the layout. And here's all the elevations, and then we get into the detail sheets here. So there's that progression again from very broad information to very detailed information. The title sheet also typically includes a summary of work. So this is a very broad overview of the steps involved in what's being done. So for example, this is a roofing and siding remediation, but in the case of a pavement remediation, which I do a lot of, that summary of work might include something like the contractors executing their general mobilization and setting up on site, milling of the top course of the pavement, making any base repairs, putting back an overlay of new pavement, making any repairs to the turf. So it's very general information step by step as to what's going to happen during the construction that's shown in the plan set. And again, the building codes, if the set of plans is building related, there's going to be a reference to the building codes in the plan set. Sometimes with site work, there may be references to other codes or other types of requirements. Sometimes if you're doing work in a wetland area, you're going to reference maybe some NJDEP standards, things like that. So any sort of design standards that are applicable to the building code, I'm sorry, applicable to the drawings that you are looking at is going to be listed on this title page. And there's the professional engineer information. When something new is being designed and it's going to be reviewed by the municipality or the county or the building official, usually signed documents are required. And here's where the professional engineer will sign and seal their drawings, or the professional architect will sign and seal their drawings in the area of the title block like this. Oftentimes with remedial specifications, if you're not disturbing the soil in any way, or if you're not perhaps making structural changes to a building, the municipality or the building code official may not need to, in all cases, review those. And in that case, if there's no review involved, the professional engineer or professional architect will not need to sign those. And oftentimes in this area, you'll see something like bid issue written in. In this particular title block, it says bid set not for construction, not issued for construction. So it's just in the stage of being bid. There may be changes to it. It's not ready for construction yet. So that would also be noted in this area here in the signature block. If it's a review set, it might say in big letters, just review set, not for construction. And there's a revision block, as I had mentioned earlier. So also on the title sheet, and sometimes on the general notes and technical notes sheet that follows this, there are very broad specifications, such as what are the qualifications of the contractors? The contractor required to be licensed in the state that they're doing the work. what type of experience is required? Do they need certain types of certifications to construct the work of this plan set? And those will be listed under qualifications. There are certain notes that are related to the execution of the work. What is the basis of the plan set? Is it based on a survey? Is it based on satellite imaging? That'll be noted here. Also, if the contractor is doing a certain task on site, what's required, such as the site is required to be swept broom clean at the end of every day. Then the facilities for the workers need to be located in a certain area. So just general things like that are included here. And then after the title page, there is typically a technical notes page. Sometimes those general notes are included on the same sheet, just to get all the notes on the same page. But in this particular case, there are technical notes related to the execution of the work. So in this case, this is a site work technical notes page. There are notes that are related to excavation. And under excavation, for example, there are certain the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, otherwise known as OSHA, has certain requirements for if you're going to dig past a certain depth, you have to shore up the sides of the excavation. Those kind of notes are included here. There's notes on backfilling. You don't just throw dirt in a hole and pat it down and call it good. There are certain notes here on backfilling. It has to be backfilled in 6-inch lifts and compacted, and how densely does that need to be compacted. That's included here. You'll see material specifications here. In this case, this was a pavement project. So it's not just general asphalt that we're using. What type of asphalt are we using? So you'll see that the types of base course, surface course here, we're specifying the materials by referencing the NJDOT standards. So these are the type of technical information and procedural information that you'll find on the notes page following the title page. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of the blueprint drawings and the types of drawings that everybody thinks of as blueprints or design drawings. So again, we're progressing from the very broad to the very detailed. So this was a just an overall site map for a pavement project that we did years back. And you'll see that it's a big community. It's going to be done in 3 phases. So this overall site layout sheet shows, you see there's a legend on the side there, shows what portions of the roadways are going to be done in what phases. So there's no real detailed information on here. It doesn't tell you how to do it, doesn't tell you, how to construct anything, just some road names and overall, what are the phases, where are they located. Here's a roofing project, and here's the site layout for a roofing project. All the roofs are going to be done, but there are different configurations to the different types of units. Here we have 3 different types of units, and the contractor needs to know where they are on the site and where each of the configurations are located. Again, not a lot of detail here about how to construct roofs, just showing locations and different types of units. You see there's a little legend up in the upper right-hand corner that that gives some more information about the unit types and the configurations. And sometimes it's good because we're beyond the days of the old blueprints, where in the electronic age we can also show pictures, which explain things very, very well sometimes. We don't always include pictures in the design sets, but where they can convey some important information to the contractor, we do include them. So we're going to talk about the different views that are included in the design plan. So you wouldn't usually see a view like this in a design plan, but we're going to use this little what's called an isometric model to discuss where we're going to slice this building up to show it on the different plan sheets. So this is what's called an isometric view. If you were to hover above the building and look down at it from one of the corners, it is equally height, width, and depth at equal angles to your view. But again, this type of view is not typically shown on a design plan, but we're going to use it for our purposes here to show how um, this structure is cut to show it on the design plans. So this would be if you were hovering above the roof. We're going to start with plan views. Most design sets start with a plan view, whether it's a site plan or whether it's a building. We're going to start from the outside of the building and look straight down on it. So in this case, this is the roof plan. You're at the top of the building. You're looking down. You could see all the different angles and ridges on the roof. This particular plan has where the different types of vents are located on the roof where the overhangs are. And it's two different types of buildings. You'll see there's a type A and a type B. They've got different types of roofs. So this is the plan view of each. And then if you were to take our isometric view, you see in the bottom left-hand corner, and you were to slice horizontally through the building at a certain point and look straight down at it, you would get the plan view from the interior. So we first looked at it from the top, from the outside. Now we're looking at it from the top down, from the inside. And in this case, that would be the floor plans for the building. Sometimes if there's a multi-level building, you'll see multiple plan sheets starting from either the roof down or the foundation up, starting with a foundation plan. And sometimes there is if there's a parking garage, there might be a parking garage layout plan. If the parking is is either at ground level or below ground level, you'll see those first. And then there's a first floor layout and for each successive story up to the roof. So you could see here, this is just showing that this is the front of the building here in our isometric, and you've got the front of the building here on the right side looking in, but you're looking straight down on that floor. So what kind of information is provided on the plan? So on the plan view, excuse me. So it'll show you in the case of architectural plans, the different rooms, obviously. There are internal and external dimensions. That's what you see these dimension lines all over, showing what the dimensions are in feet and inches to the outside of the building. One of the things that is not shown in this particular presentation, and I want to touch on, is the drawing scale. When you look at a plan view sheet or any detail sheet, or I'm sorry, any design plan sheet in the set, there's going to be a scale. It might say on an architectural plan, 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, or an 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. Or in the case of a site plan where you've got much larger scales, it might say 1 inch equals 50 feet, or 1 inch equals 20 feet, something to that effect. Or overall layout plan, you might see 1 inch equals 100 feet. So these scales are obviously not true. They're proportional to what's going to be built, but they're scaled down versions of what's going to be built. So also on the plan view, you may also see something called callouts. So you see down on the bottom here references to other drawings. So if there are special items, in this case, there are callouts on maybe an area where there is a bearing wall inside the building that goes down to the foundation, and there may be a reference to a detail on another plan showing from roof to foundation, how that wall needs to be constructed. Sometimes there are other types of details. Foundations, for example, will often have call outs to show how the foundation wall should be constructed, how it should be configured. Oh, and here we are. Here's the concrete footings below the foundation wall. and you see the call outs here. So this, I don't know if you could see my cursor where it's following along where the foundation wall is. This is the structure that you might see above the ground or at basement level. And then underneath that, you see these larger, wider hashed areas. That's the footing that the foundation wall is sitting on. Again, you see the dimensions here. That's showing the dimensions of that foundation wall. It's showing, there might be other notes on here too. It's showing that this basement floor needs to be constructed, the thickness of the concrete, what it needs to be, how it needs to be underlain with a vapor barrier. So this is the type of information that's all included on the plan views. So this is just a little example showing, as I mentioned, this wider area here underneath the foundation wall, showing how wide they need to be. And on the left-hand side there, you see where those footings are actually being constructed in the field. If you have an engineer who's doing contract administration, in other words, coming out to the site to compare what is being built to the plan set, they might look at something like this. If the footings are open, they would look at the plan set and they'd see that the footings need to be so many feet wide, so many feet long, and they will measure that in the field just to make a comparison and ensure that the project is being constructed in conformance with the design plans. Here's our isometric view again. And we're going to go into the next type of design drawings. So we've got the plan view. So far we've discussed the overall layout, very broad information, the plan views that look straight down from different heights of the building from the outside and inside. Now we're going to look at the building from the side. The side views of the buildings are called the elevations. So whenever you're looking at elevations on a plan, you're not looking at an isometric view like this. It's as if you were standing on the side of the building, directly in the middle of it and looking directly at it. So that's what you see when you're looking at the plans. And here's an example of elevations here. Again, you don't see any details or anything about any of the other sides of the building. You're looking directly at the side that the elevation is shown for. So here we have a front elevation and the side elevation of, it looks like two townhome or perhaps garden style buildings. And this is for a roof and siding remediation. Oh, here's the scale I was talking about. It is in this webinar. So you'll see underneath, it's telling you what is being shown here, but then the scale is 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. So there are special scales in the days of electronic plans, they're not used so much, but in the days of physical plans, we had special scales. I don't know if you've seen them. They're kind of like a triangular shaped ruler, if you will, that has different scales on different sides, so you can measure things on the plans. So for every 1/8 of an inch that's shown on this plan, it's going to equal 1 foot in real life, or does equal 1 foot in real life. So what types of information do the elevations show? So when you look at the elevation, they're going to show you the story heights of the building. They're going to show you where the top of the foundation elevation is. And these are usually given as there may be an actual elevation, such as when you're looking at plans that give an elevation like say like at 100 feet. And on depending upon the survey datum, that might be 100 feet above mean sea level. It could be whatever the reference is, or it could be just a reference point on the site that they set at 100. So sometimes they'll show actual elevations for the bottom of the foundation wall and the top of the foundation wall. Sometimes they'll just be heights that are shown. So in this particular case, we've got the top of the basement wall and the first floor elevation. That's it's a little slow, or I'm sorry, small. I can't zoom in, but I believe that it's just got distances in feet and inches. But it does show that, say, on the first floor, you've got, say, an 11-foot clearance between subfloor at the bottom and the joists at the top of that particular floor. These elevations also show types of siding. I think I have that on the next slide. Yeah, here we go. Showed the types of facade materials that are on the building. And in this one, this is for a siding project. And there are different units with different types of siding materials on them. And you'll see that there's a key in the upper right-hand side there that talks about the different types of siding that go in the different areas. Also, I'll go back a slide here. Also, information on these elevations might include roof slopes. Roof slopes are oftentimes included on the plan view of the roof that we discussed a few slides back, where you're looking straight down at the roof. Oftentimes, there will be roof slope information on that as well. Okay, so we're moving on to the next type of plan that is shown in the blueprint. So again, we've started with the overall plans, and we talked about plan view. We talked about elevation, where we're looking at directly at the side of the building. Now we're going to look at building sections. So section lines are cut along the section of the building. Here we go. This is a better slide to show that. So oftentimes, we show these, as I mentioned, the call outs that call out different details in the building plans. The section lines look very similar. Whoops. There we go. But it cuts through the entire length of the building in a particular direction. So if you look at the left side, you'll see the arrow. And if you look at the right side, it's got kind of a little leg that sticks up. That shows you the direction that you're looking at in the section. So if you were to cut this building in half along the line that's shown here and flip it up and look at it like you were looking at an elevation view, you would see the inside of the building like this. It's cut right through. Again, this is the isometric view, but here's what it would look like in the plans. It would look kind of like that dollhouse view, if you will. And again, it shows the different rooms that are here. It shows where, again, the heights of the building, but it shows other interior information as well. In this case, it shows the floor joists and the materials for those. It's showing the stairs, showing that there's an attic space. It's showing that the attic is insulated. You'll notice that there's a call out here in the rake section. This probably refers to a detail sheet. So again, I just want to come back to the where we saw the section here. And again, if you look on the left side where the arrow is that shows the direction that we're looking, you'll see a detail number and a sheet. So A3.0 inside that circle refers to the sheet number that section appears on. And the number one at the top, there's probably a number of sections on that sheet, but section 1 on sheet A3.0 is the section that you're seeing here in this cut. And if you were to go to sheet A.3.0 and look at section 1, you'd see something that looks like this. In addition to whole building sections, there are often sheets with wall sections that have a lot more refined and detailed information in them. Here's a wall section here that's showing the exterior wall of a building. This looks like a stucco facade building over some concrete masonry units with a stucco finish on it. So it's showing what's inside that exterior wall, how it meets up with the roof, how it sits on the foundation, how the inside of that wall is to be finished. You see that there are some studs on the inside of that wall with some gypboard finish on the inside. On the outside, there is a 3-coat stucco exterior. So it's showing the materials that are used on the inside, the outside of that wall, and how the upper and lower components fit into, if you will, the components that are around it. Wall sections are very valuable when you are looking for information on how the building is constructed when you do need to do remedial work. These sheets are very important to people who are designing siding or designing repairs for stucco, or if there are issues with water intrusion into a building. These wall sections are very important because of the amount of information they show, and because of the information they show in how what might be leaking relates to other portions of the building. So these sheets are very important to have if you have them. And again, here, just an example of what the call out might look like. Again, this particular section might be detailed, I'm sorry, section 2 on sheet A 6.0. So in the wall section, there might also be details for where those wall sections meet the roof and the foundation. So um, sometimes they might have three-dimensional just sort of details like this on the plan, but that's not typical. Usually it's the plans look like what they look like on the left here, but they're depicting what you see on the right. You see how this concrete masonry wall comes up and it sits underneath the roof, how the roof overhangs it, where the trusses are located in relation to that exterior wall. And the same with the foundation. You see where that concrete masonry unit wall, the interior, how it comes down and how it sits on a lip on the foundation. It shows also how the siding materials, and you can see that here in the wall section, you see how the CMU comes down, concrete masonry units come down and sit in the little notch, and that's what's shown there. It also shows how the exterior siding, how it should overlap the foundation, the end of the foundation. You see that here, where this exterior facade, in this case stucco, comes down just a little past, usually about an inch past the exterior wall construction, overlapping the foundation. So now we get into the most refined information in a plan set, the details. So the details, as it says, provides a closer look into how to build specific parts of the building or your site. Um, and this is just showing just some 3D examples of what that might be. That might be the way the interior wall is insulated. Again, the way the trusses might sit on the exterior wall framing. In this case, this is showing some soffit insulation here. Um, in this case here, we have, it looks like how the attic space sits over the floor beneath it. But again, when you look at blueprints, they're going to be line drawings like this. In this case, this is for a pavement project, not for a building project, but same principle. If you look at some of the preceding plans in the set, it doesn't have this level of detail. In this particular case, for a pavement project, we're showing if the pavement has to be reconstructed in full, what should the different layers look like? The aggregate layer, the base course, the top course, how thick should they be? What material should they be? In the second detail here, it shows where that new pavement is meeting the existing pavement, where the limit of work is going to be, and how should that be treated? How should that pavement overlap with the existing pavement that's going to remain so that it doesn't unravel or doesn't deteriorate too quickly? We've got some details on here that show the tops of catch basins. We have some details on the new grates that are to be installed on the catch basins and what are the specific sizes of the openings that they need to be, what the dimensions of those new grates need to be. At the bottom left here, you see some details for new speed humps. What are the dimensions of the speed hump? How should they be painted? What is the material that they are going to be painted with? Is it a thermoplastic paint? Is it a spray-on paint? It also shows the signs here, the details of the signs that need to be posted, and the detail shows how far from the speed humps they're supposed to be posted. So very specific types of information. This is a detail sheet from a roofing project. In this particular case, the chimney caps were being removed and replaced with a newer material, and this just shows the dimensions of those chimney caps. It shows how the flue is to come up through the chimney chase and through the chimney cap, and how that's to be sealed. Again, very specific information. And again, we've got some photos here showing the two different types of chimney cap configurations, where one is of a siding material that comes up through the roof, and the other one is an exterior chase that comes up along the side of the building. Pictures always help. Just here are some more roofing details. In this particular case, this is showing how vents for plumbing fixtures, how the vents are to come through the roof, and how those penetrations are supposed to be handled with a boot, and how the shingles need to be lapped so that you don't get leaks. It also shows different types of roof vents, and probably on prior sheets, there are references to these details. You see that detail 5 here looks a little different than detail 6. There are two different types of uh, uh, caps that go on to the end of vents that, depending on where they're being installed, need to be one or the other. There's some gutter details on here showing how the gutters need to be installed. Again, the basic point is that this is more specific information. Same thing with siding details, showing how the windows need to be wrapped. If there are any penetrations coming through the building, such as condensate lines or dryer vents, how those need to be treated and lapped with the building lap properly so that you don't end up with leaks. Now there's a manufacturer's information for how to wrap those vents coming through. There may also be just some material specifications that are on the detail sheets as well. In this particular case, this is a siding project, and it's giving some material specifications for the different types of materials that are involved, and just some information particular to those. Again, we have pictures, always good to show the contractor the different configurations. So this is a different type of design drawing here. This is for a parking garage remediation. So in cases where you have repetitive details that are in multiple locations, you can create a schedule of the details, as was done here for this particular parking garage. So again, photos, always good, showing the different types of deterioration in the different areas of the different connections, showing the different conditions that exist, and here are the locations. So here again is a broad overview sheet. You see the darkened areas showing where the deterioration, different types of deterioration was observed. And these different areas are keyed into this particular sheet that talks about the types of deterioration, the types of connections, and how they're to be treated. So here would be the detail sheet for that, that if you were to say, look at this table, it might refer you to the detail sheet for a specific detail on how to repair these specific locations. So you would go to the detail sheet with your very refined information, and you would see much more detail there about how maybe different welds, different types of bolts, how new steel should be anchored into the concrete. Just some examples of some detailed information that would be provided in the detail sheet. So as I mentioned in the beginning, the blueprints um, are not the only thing needed for the contractors to successfully complete a project. So blueprints are part of a bid package. There are other documents involved, but one of the more important documents would be the project manual, or the specifications for the project. And this is usually done as a little booklet, and it's got different sections in it that invite the contractor to bid, gives a general description of the project. And this booklet is meant to supplement the design plans that we just looked through. So it describes overall the project to the contractor, gives general information that if they want to visit the site, who should they contact, when are the bids due, in what format are they due, if there is any kind of special instructions for the bidders. Is there going to be a walkthrough on a certain date that they're required to attend? Who to contact if they have technical questions, or who to contact if they want to visit the site outside of a pre-bid meeting. That would be in the instructions. And then there's the bid proposal form. This is not the form. I'll put the for future webinars, I'll put the right form in. This is the bid summary form, but it shows the same general information. You can see this is a phased project. They are doing a pavement remediation project here, and they're going to be doing it in 4 phases. And under each phase, you see that there are the different tasks that need to be done, and each contractor has given their price to perform each of those tasks. So the bid form that's included in the project manual is in a little different format than this, but it asks for this exact information, and that is included in that project manual. So I'll take some questions if you have any in a few minutes, but today I hope we've successfully covered drawing scale. I hope I didn't confuse anybody on that. I wish I could show an example in a webinar, but how drawing scales are kind of smaller versions of what's actually constructed or will be constructed. How to navigate through the blueprints, through the very general information, very broad information, to the very detailed, and how to find specific information in the plans if you're looking for, we talked about those wall sections being very valuable because they're chock full of information. And we talked about how the blueprints fit into a larger bid package, and what their role is in that bid package. And I thank you for attending. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or contact me or Chelsea. Are there any questions? We have a few minutes left. Let me just check the chat here to see if we have any questions. It says the project manual is particularly interesting to me. I wondered how engineers participated in the project process. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Yes, the engineer's role. We have another webinar, as I mentioned, that talks about how to uh, put together a bid package, and what's involved in that bid package, and how to solicit bids from contractors. But it talks about the roles of the different parties in that, between the owner, in this case, often the association, the contractor, and the engineer, and what their different roles are in that design and build process.
I can actually send a recording copy of that in the email I sent to everybody with the copy of today's presentation and recording. I can send that as well if you think it'll be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I would say go ahead and send that, because it's much more detailed. It's a much more detailed
Next level
webinar
of this.
presentation, but it's got some good information in there.
Perfect. Yes, I will send that along to everybody as well.
All right. Well, it seems like there's not too many questions here, so I am going to thank everyone for attending, and wish you all a very good day. And the sun's going to come out on Friday, so I hope everybody gets a chance to get some sunshine on them and enjoy the day instead of all this rain and clouds. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Melissa.